I've said it before, and it really does shine through again tonight. I don't know why the guys bother showing up to the Capitol Wrestling Center, considering the women week after 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 week own NXT. Let's talk about it. Probably the most SJW intro that I've ever done. Doesn't hurt that it's true. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with your NXT review for November 4th, 2020. And before we even get into the house cleaning, we're going to try and do serious Spaz for a second. You know, obviously COVID's still a thing. We're all making our way through. I have sinuses that are kicking my ass like normal, so please don't mind that. But I'm not even going to do the typical, like, hey, COVID still sucks, I hope you guys are all okay. My American friends, anybody watching me from the States right now, I literally don't have I don't have the wherewithal or the proper placement to talk to you guys about the tumultuous week you guys are having with all the election stuff. And I'm not, you know, as much as, you know, I fuck around on Twitter and social and all that kind of thing and have my own opinions on things because people attack me for my opinions on things. I'm not here to make a joke about the election situation going on in the States, because at the end of the day, I know it's a really, really rough, tough, stressful time for you guys, whatever side you're on, whether you're on the popular side or the other side. I have friends down in the States, like, I'm up here in Canada. People are like, you know, oh, not like it affects you. Well, it absolutely does, because you're right next to us, first of all. Second of all, I have friends down there. Third of all, if I want to bring it to a podcast YouTube realm, all four of the people, all four of the co-hosts that make this show much more than just me sitting here talking my bullshit are all in the States. I don't have any co-hosts from Canada. I have only ever in the history of this channel had one co-host from the UK, and I think that video got lost. James, I'm sorry. But Connor, who we're going to get back on here eventually, okay, Fabe, go send that guy some love, is in the States. Kristen, who's doing the Flix Fix stuff with me and making that series what it is in the States. My AEW rep, Guapo, is down in the States doing stuff, and Super Sexy Jake DeMarco is down in the States. So if you come at me and say that, you know, why do you give a shit, you're in Canada, I'm gonna tell you to go fuck yourself. As for the rest of you, for my co-hosts, for my friends, I don't have any family down there, but I have friends down there that are like family, if I can be mushy. You guys are going through a real shit time right now. The election was yesterday. The election is still going on today. For all I know, it could be going on the next day and the next day. I really hope that you guys find a way to stay calm, find a way to, you know, take care of yourselves. My TV's flashing. I don't know why that's a thing. I really hope you guys find a way to de-stress. Whoever you are, whatever side you're on, I hope something in all this mess goes in your favor. But just take care of yourselves. I mean, we're all getting our asses kicked for like 7-8 months now by COVID. You guys definitely don't need this on your plate. So just know that I'm keeping you guys in mind if you've decided on your Thursday or to catch it in a podcast afterwards to make this part of your week, and in any way I can distract you from the shit show that you guys are currently stuck in. I am legitimately, not being corny here, humbled and privileged for the chance to take your guys' minds off of what you're dealing with for the next little while. But know that even though you might see me on Twitter and I might be being my typical jackass self, I am thinking about you guys. I hope you're all okay. Definitely, if you're watching live in the chat, throw it in the chat. Let me know how you're doing. Be honest. It is what it is. Throw it down in the comment section. Be honest. Let me know how you guys are doing. If you want to find me, this isn't even a plug, but like if you want to find me on the other socials, the Twitter and or the Facebook group or whatever, and let me know how you guys are doing, that's totally cool. Do it. 2020 is an absolute dumpster fire, and what's going down with you guys this week probably caps off anything that I've seen other than the literal, you know, global situation that's killing people. This is the next biggest, baddest, ugliest thing. So I'm not going to ramble on this too long. Hope you guys are all doing okay. To my friends and family and co-hosts and the community that I've created here on this YouTube channel / podcast specifically, please know that I'm thinking about you. Please know that I hope you are doing okay. And yeah, do the whole Dusty Rhodes. My hand is touching your hand, and if you're listening in a podcast form, just imagine me reaching out towards my camera like a retard. Moving on from that, awkwardly, because I don't really have a transition, I am going to get into a little bit of the house cleaning. In the next couple of days, am a really lucky guy. Speaking of the all the co-hosts that I just mentioned, other than Connor, who I'm hoping to get back soon, in the next week or so, Jake and I are cooking up something for you. I don't know when exactly it's going to get out, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a big multi-part project that Jake and I are working on. Obviously, it's NXT related, so there's your hint. And you guys know what I love about NXT right now, so there's your second hint. Looking forward to doing that with Jake. As I say, it's going to slot into the schedule where I can. Going to get on with Guapo. AEW talk needs to happen. Full Gear is this weekend. And again, for all the shit that I talk about AEW, because there is a lot of shit to talk, there is a lot of really cool shit on Full Gear, specifically Eddie Kingston versus, I was about to say Dean Ambrose, and I wasn't even trying to be a dick, Jon Moxley. The tag title thing is, I don't know. I feel badly that I'm not as excited as some people, but I know there's enough people that are excited about that match, and that's the dream match that I can, I don't know, I can live off of somebody else's excitement sometimes. I know we're going to get that with Omega and Paige as well, so that's cool. At some point in the next week or so, I'm going to get back on with Kristen. We are going to be doing the second induction, the second part of the Joker trilogy, which is going to be Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. That's going to be a lot of fun. And now that we're talking about stuff that's a little bit more fun, I am going to plug the socials because I am a social media whore. It's fine. If you are watching me right now, the super sexy face and the gimmick hat, you want to find me on an audio platform, go to any audio platform you can find and look up the Spaz Phoenix podcast. If you're listening to me in audio and you want to see the super sexy face and the gimmick hat, you go to YouTube, you look up Spaz Phoenix. Go to Twitter. I got two addresses. It's Spaz Phoenix and Spaz Phoenix with a 1 on it. You want to go to Instagram at Spaz Phoenix. You want to go to Facebook and search the Spaz Phoenix podcast Facebook group. And yes, specifically on YouTube, we are still crawling on the road to 1100. If I hit 1100 by December, you guys know that have been watching me for a long time, I typically take December off because it's busy time, it's holiday time, it's my birthday time, but the whole world's on pause, so that might not even happen. But if we can roll into the new year, and if nothing else, if my friends in the States are still having shitty times, if the world is still on lockdown, if the world is still on pause, if we're all still separated from each other and we're still dreading the big global bastard, at least I can say I rolled over into 1,100 subs, which nobody will care about unless you're somebody that's been watching me for a long time. Anybody, I've said it before and I'll say it again, anybody that has liked, shared, commented, retweeted anything that I've done, my podcast, my videos, etc., please, and I mean this genuinely, tag me if you're sharing anything of mine, because I'm going to do my damnedest to get out to each and every one of you that are doing that for me, and I am going to try and thank you. It's the least that I can do. Little tiny community here on this channel / this podcast, but I do appreciate each and every last one of you. I really hope you know that. Now that I have waffled for 8, look at the timer. You can't see the timer because it's on my camera. It's fine. But it's almost about to tick over to 9 minutes, and I haven't even started talking about the show. That's how much is going on in the real world right now. We started this week's NXT with what I thought was going to be a cold open, because it threw up the NXT logo and then immediately went into Ember Moon's entrance. And Ember Moon's entrance was interrupted by a recap of Halloween Havoc last week, and came back and Dakota Kai was already in the ring. So it was cool, because we're going to talk about Halloween Havoc in a second, but anticlimactic because this is a match that I was really looking forward to, and both of them got sort of half of a jobber entrance. Now, let's talk about Halloween Havoc last week. That was a lot of fun. Didn't do a review. Told you guys I wasn't going to do a review. Got Mr. Super Sexy Jake DeMarco on here beforehand to preview it, because it was sort of a mini pay-per-view, and as I said last week, I think that's what I'm going to do going forward. If they do another Great American Bash, if they do another Halloween Havoc, if they do another big super show like this, I am going to treat it like a pay-per-view so that I can sit back, sort of take the Wednesday off, and that's what I did. And let me tell you guys, sitting back and watching it without the pen in my hand, without the Doomy clipboard of Doom in front of me, I don't know why I'm looking over there, because it's over there. It did feel good, and for me as a viewer even though it's in the middle of the week on a Wednesday night, it did give it that pay-per-view feel to know that I had given myself the night off, if that makes sense. And when you got a big show, a lot of the time, this is why I don't review proper pay-per-views. It's because it's much more fun to get the preview and all the, basically to get somebody on here and do conversation with me, because if I'm with Jake, if I'm with Guapo, if I'm with Christian, if I'm with Connor, when we ever get him back, okay Fabe, we love you. Everybody go and bug at okay Fabe and just do a hashtag like bring back okay Fabe. Don't do that. Don't do that. He'll hate my guts. It's fine. It is a lot easier for me to do a video or a podcast with somebody and just bounce off them if it's not entirely obvious, and if you don't see the way I get lost in my own ramble when I'm doing this on a solo video. I'm not trying to hide that. That is a thing. That is why, even though NXT reviews are sort of the anchor of this channel, because it's the only thing that you know you're getting from me every week, it is also the hardest thing I do throughout the week, because I flash through doing notes for this, and my notes are ridiculous, and that's why you get catchphrases like, oh my god, what does that say? I can't read my own writing, etc., etc., etc. But it's a hell of a lot easier to get on here and preview something with somebody else so that I've got a minute to breathe and then not have to be doing ridiculous notes on the night. So, long story short, that's what we're going to be doing if something like a Halloween Havoc or something like a Great American Bash happens again. We're going to do it like that, and if it's 2 weeks, then we'll do it 2 weeks in a row. It's fine. Because you do get a Fallout show like tonight, and you do get to wrap everything up. But Halloween Havoc, Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes was a thing that happened, and it was one of those, much like the whole show, it was okay, you got to know what it is and decide whether you're in on what it is or not. The house with the zombies and the theatrical elements of it were great, and Dexter Lumis is still a plank of wood, and Cameron Grimes I'm begrudgingly coming around to, but he's still not one of my favorite people. But it all worked. The parkour fucking zombies that were in the ring at the end and all that kind of thing was a lot of fun. Johnny Gargano is our new North American champion. Great opening contest with Damian Priest. Don't know what they're going to do with Damian Priest now. He wasn't on the show tonight. That's a bit weird. SHOTZI Blackheart, obviously my biases are what they are. She was great as the host, and then getting involved in the tables, ladders, and scares match with Io Shirai and Dakota Kai. Yes. Or no, Candice LeRae. I'm an idiot. Moving on. The ghost face thing was great because that came back twice. Legado del Fantasma is awesome, and Jake Atlas got to look good in that. The return of Pete Dunne. I'm a mark for Pete Dunne. I'm a mark for Pete Dunne in NXT UK. I'm a mark for Pete Dunne in NXT. I'm a mark for Pete Dunne. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. Watching him fight in Destiny Wrestling as well. Seeing him give us 5 seconds of the cool, awesome return, and then have him turn and join Pat McAfee's group, which is fucking awesome. And if at this point, if they're not doing War Games, I don't know what the fuck they're doing at all. It was a lot of fun, and they went all in on the gimmick, and Johnny Gargano slashing the pumpkin right away. So here's your bit of nostalgia, but also Gargano's a dick. It all worked. I hope you enjoyed that show as much as I did, and we got a win. Yes, I'm aware that NXT hardly ever wins the ratings war ever, and the Chris Jericho's sitting there jerking off about the 18 to 49 demo. That's not really something we need to talk about, especially with one of his associates being sort of kind of problematic according to some people, but I don't really care. Moving on. But we got a win, and I hate to say it because this isn't why I want to win, But typically when there's, and this, other people have pointed this out to me, I'm not just saying it for the hell of it, typically when there's a lot of political stuff going on, especially in the States, the AEW numbers drop more than NXT numbers. So I'm predicting, for right reasons or wrong, that this NXT this week is going to get a win as well. We're going to get on to the main event. And the fact that I'm not talking about the main event later on, but everything else leading up to it was making you look forward to the next week, putting an absolute spotlight on this awesome women's division. I mean, there's only so much I can say about it. Stay tuned for what me and Jake are going to do. There's your third hint of the evening. But let's get back into the show proper. We got the match. We got all that Halloween recap in between Ember Moon and Dakota Kai's entrance, but in the ring, collar and elbow tie up and a snapmare counter sequence to follow a mount by Kai. Moon works on the arm. There's a side headlock by Kai and an armbar. Seated inverted full Nelson by Moon was interesting. I thought she was going to go for a butterfly suplex, but she just sort of kept her in the hold, which was, if it surprises me, I can believe it surprises the opponent, if that makes sense. Handful of hair takedown by Kai. There's a shoving match and a trip by Moon. Moon eats the post shoulder first, and then Kai works on that arm because it just went into the post shoulder first. It works. One arm powerbomb by Moon, and yes, everybody else, all the NXT haters are going to say, why didn't she sell the arm? I don't care. Adrenaline is an absolute thing. Cross arm breaker by Kai that turns into a short arm scissor, the one arm powerbomb that I just mentioned. Series of kicks, a springboard mule kick by Moon, and a drive-by style boot on the apron by Moon. There's a dirty suicide dive by Ember Moon, followed by a second one that misses, crashes, burns, and there's your cut and paste. Yes, we're going to commercial break now. Moment. Sorry. I need a drink. I'm just totally unprofessional, totally not cutting this out either. I need a drink because I'm dry as fuck. Coming back from the commercial break, we get a pop-up head scissor by Moon and a spinebuster upward boot by Kai, wheelbarrow facebuster and a roundhouse kick, top rope codebreaker by Moon, which is awesome. They trade some punches, and I can't read my writing. There we go. They trade some punches from the knees. Crippler crossface by Moon, which is awesome because not only is she using the codebreaker and the crippler crossface, she's obviously a fan of Canadian wrestling and guys named Chris. Extended pinning reversal sequence to follow. Grounded armbar by Kai. Scissor kick. Strikes and forearms and high knees by Moon. A corner splash and a hip toss. Raquel distracts the referee. And Ember Moon is on the top rope trying to do a top rope something and eats a pump kick from Dakota Kai and a GTS from the top rope. I really do love the modified GTS from the top rope by Kai as well to get the win. This would have been awesome if you hadn't thrown the distraction in there, because Dakota Kai made a fucking awesome showing of herself, and I would have believed that finish without the distraction. Raquel Gonzalez. Oh, there we go. That's what I didn't talk about. Battle of the Monsters, Raquel Gonzalez versus Rhea Ripley last week was surprisingly good, and when you consider how high I consider Rhea Ripley, surprisingly good is really, really fucking good. But Raquel Gonzalez goes back to the Diesel role here, doing the distraction that I don't think was necessary. Dakota Kai gets the win. Ember Moon still looks like $1,000,000 fucking bucks. Apparently, she's trying out other finishers because constantly doing the Eclipse is damaging and dangerous, and who would have known that a top rope stunner would be dangerous? I'm pretty sure when she hits that, she's doing something to her tailbone. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, as much as I'm not a politician, but I'm going to assume that landing in a stunner position from the top rope is going to do something bad to your tailbone. Cameron Grimes is in the back. He's a little bit overselling the fact that he's still creeped out from last week in his match with Dexter Lumis. He's facing Kushida tonight. He's going to get all of his life back on track, and then he's scared by the referee, which is fine, I guess. In the back, we got SHOTZI Blackheart sort of reiterating what we saw throughout the weekend, what tore my heart in two when I read it on the social medias there, that SHOTZI Blackheart on social media announced that because she did such a great job of hosting the Halloween Havoc last week, which she did, her reward from William Regal is she gets to pick whoever she wants as an opponent this week. So she wants to face somebody she's admired for a long time. She wants to face somebody that she's never fought before, refers to her as fresh meat, which is awkward. I don't know whether that was on the show or on Twitter. I'm mixing up my promos now. That's fine. Ultimately, bottom line, SHOTZI Blackheart is taking on Toni Storm, and my heart breaketh in two, but I'm fine. Grimes versus Kushida. Now, if you think that a couple months ago, Kushida and Cameron Grimes were fighting over a hat, and I couldn't stand Cameron Grimes, and I really like this match, we make some progress. We did some good shit. Just don't be fighting over a hat, and don't, as much as I like the Undisputed Era, don't put Kushida in a dumpster and then tell me a story about how he cares about some other random dude's hat, and we're fine. We've also done some really cool things with Kushida recently, so that's fine as well. Kushida works on the legs with kicks and a single leg chop. There's a quick chain wrestling sequence to follow. Grounded face lock by Grimes. Armbar by Kushida. Okay, this is the match of arm bars. I know I'm rushing through. I'm very, very tired. I do apologize. Because of all the stuff that was going on yesterday down in America, I was watching TV and YouTube and a bunch of other things until about 3 in the morning, and then got up to go to work. So I am definitely not at 100%, so I hope you guys are forgiving. You guys usually are, at least if you're not, and you're not very loud about it, which is nice and considerate and kind, and that's the group I wanna cultivate. It's when I'm actually on my bullshit and nobody calls me on it. That's wonderful. Hip toss armbar combination by Kushida, bars both arms and does the weird reverse snap thing, almost like Penta, but not. I will say, for all the AEW fans out there, not as good as Penta, but very, very similar. Shots to the back by Grimes, a hangman on the top rope as we go to commercial break. As we come back from the commercial break, there's a back elbow by Kushida and a hip toss and a dropkick. Handspring heel kick by Kushida and a top rope crossbody. Deadlift Batista bomb by Grimes was nice. Hoverboard lock driver from the top rope thing by Kushida. I don't know. The ref gets bumped twice. Hoverboard lock by Kushida while the referee is down. Obviously gets the visual submission. Grimes does a standing double flip thing. It's basically a running, jumping, crossbody Spanish fly thing. He did it a lot when he first started, and then he stopped when the cave-in became a bigger thing. Kushida manages to pull himself out of that, lock in the hoverboard lock once again, and get a win, which is good. I mean, Kushida, a couple weeks ago, was tying it up with Tommaso Ciampa, who is a main eventer, and Cameron Grimes, much as I'm starting to come around to him, is not a main eventer, so Kushida needs to find something better to do, and that's not the last time I'm going to say that about somebody tonight. Toni Storm hypes up her match with SHOTZI Blackheart. He says she's all flattered for being picked, for being chosen, for all the flattering words from SHOTZI Blackheart, but this is the brand new Toni Storm. You're going to see a Toni Storm you've never seen before, and I'm going to have to use you as a stepping stone. So she's looking past SHOTZI Blackheart. SHOTZI Blackheart's still the underdog. Still being called the weirdo by Wade Barrett on Wade Barrett on commentary is still fucking mint. Vic What's-His-Face that Joe Cronin doesn't like is still on commentary. Beth Phoenix is still doing commentary remotely, which is still weird to hear all three of them and only see two of them. It's weird and fine and whatever. Speaking of the women's division, going from strength to strength to strength, we get a video package from Io Shirai. She's, after Halloween Havoc, people are wondering what's next for me. There's one mountain I still need to climb, and she finally calls out Rhea Ripley for the rematch that we have been waiting for since she lost her title at TakeOver. What was it? Or since she lost her title at WrestleMania, but then they had that triple threat with Charlotte at, what was it? In Your House. So we took Charlotte out of the equation. We knew Rhea Ripley wanted the title, so the champion called out the challenger, which is a nice, neat little touch. So at this point, and as I usually say, while I'm watching NXT on a Wednesday, I know Jake DeMarco, my NXT co-host, is watching AEW so that he can go do his thing on the Joe Cronin show, which you guys should also check out. Joe and Jake, they're awesome. If you don't know who they are, you've been living under a rock. In conversation with him, I basically said, well, here's where we are. We're going from strength to strength to strength. We just had Ember Moon versus Dakota Kai. We're still going to have Toni Storm versus SHOTZI Blackheart. And we finally are getting Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley at some point. What else would you like? Well, what else would I not particularly like is Maverick and Dane versus Everrise again, because it went cut and paste the past couple of weeks. I do like this Maverick Dane, the odd couple thing. Yes, we do a million odd couples in WWE. It's fine, but it went through the typical, cliche things, and it's the same opponents, too, which doesn't make it any better. They double team Maverick every time they get a chance. Every time Dane is in there, he's killing them, even to the point of using his partner as a weapon. But don't bother with that. Really just don't bother paying attention to the match at all. Picture in picture shows Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch coming in to the building. And you would think it's just a, hey, they're arriving at the building, but they go right to the ring. Ever-Rise fuck the fuck off because they're smart. And just Maverick and Dane get the ever-loving shit kick out of them before we go to commercial break. I mean, Maverick gets disposed of pretty quickly. Dane tries to fight and whatever. I always said they should have tossed Killian Dane over in NXT UK for a bit just to see how he would have done, because I would have loved to see him take on the big fuckers like Walter or Joe Coffey or some of those guys over there that are absolutely brutal. But if it's going to come the other way around, you got guys like Danny Burch and Pete Dunne that are here now. That's fine too. Coming back from the commercial break, we got Pat just grabbing a camera because they're not quite done with a 3-on-1 beatdown on Killian Dane. And then he starts cutting a promo, and I'm not even going to bother trying to tell you everything that Pat McAfee says in his promos, because his promos are so, I don't want to say erratic, but they're very sporadic, and they're sort of all over the place, but they always manage to come back to what he's trying to say. And he's making up a reason for his group to exist as he goes, and why he's got this group together and why they're specifically targeting the Undisputed Era. And it all does work out, but they do it all in this guise of, hey, you know, these guys are done, these guys are over, we should pay tribute to them just to show how done they are. They start off with Pete Dunne. They talk about, you know, all the history with the Dusty Classic and how Roderick Strong turned on him and the Undisputed Era turned on him and he got fucked over, and that's why he was part of the schmoz last week with Kyle O'Reilly with the chairs and all that sort of thing. That's wonderful. Pat McAfee goes on to talk about how, you know, Undisputed Era have been this thing. They arrived and they got all the titles, and NXT propped them up, and they kept all the other talent down. He obviously making reference to Lorcan and Burch, which is awesome, because if you go back to any preview or review that I've done, anything that I've done with, you know, Jake currently, anything that I did NXT wise with Christian or Guapo before that, you looked at Lorcan and Burch, and you really were saying, these guys are great wrestlers in the ring, just give me a reason to care. So you can imagine what he's saying is absolutely true. You know, Undisputed Era did run the table for a long ass time. They held all the gold for a long time, so they tied in Lorcan and Burch with, hey, we got the titles now, it's all good. And then he says, well, why am I here? I'm here because I took Adam Cole to the limit in my very first match, and he couldn't even show me the respect of that. So in one concise, sort of all over the place promo, he's definitely given his entire group a reason to exist. He keeps on referring to them as the Kings of NXT. I'm guaranteeing you right now that's not going to be their faction's name or whatever, but it is what it is. They have a Undisputed Era flag. They're going to raise it up like they do with retired teams, whatever, and then they take a vote, because it's election week, and that's a bit cringe. And they vote instead to throw it in the trash, and Pete Dunne has some lighter fluid, just happens to have some lighter fluid, as you do, and they burn the flag, and then they leave, but they don't even leave up the ramp. They leave out the side that goes right to the back door that takes them right to their car again, and Killian Dane tries to jump them 1-on-4 because that's smart, and eventually they get over to their car, and Pete Dunne traps him in the driver's door and kicks it, and even Pat McAfee's like, okay, that was a little aggressive, we can talk about that, but awesome. And it shows a really awkward sort of close-up on Killian Dane, who's clearly busted open and clearly bleeding onto the ground what is very clearly not real blood, but it's fine. And he signed it off the same way he signed off his promo in the ring: we're the greatest, you suck, cheers. And if that's the way he's going to sign off every promo, I'm totally okay with that. We go to Gargano at the dinner table in his house, but not with Candace. He's talking about how much, you know, people, how much people lie about him, and how much he's always loved Wheels. I don't know why anybody would think that I hate Wheels. And then he talks about all the history that he's made: Grand Slam champion, world champion, first ever 2-time North American champion, all that kind of thing. And then he gets a phone call and a modified voice, because the person he's playing the board game with isn't Candice LeRae, it's the guy in the Scream mask, so obviously modulated voice and all that kind of gimmick, even though they're at the same table. The absence of Candice LeRae was key. Him having the board game with the wheel on it and the title and the Scream guy all there, it's all good, because he's going to continue being an absolute dickhead, and Candice LeRae may go a different direction, and that's cool too. But I really can't mourn for the loss of Candice LeRae for too long, because what we do have is Toni Storm versus SHOTZI Blackheart. SHOTZI Blackheart rushes the ring, no tank. They make some sort of allusion to, hey, did Toni Storm, steal SHOTZI Blackheart's tank to get a mind advantage over her or whatever? And then it just kind of drops out of the conversation, and it's just like, I don't want to see Toni Storm as a heel, because I don't think she portrays angry particularly well. I like Toni Storm. You guys have known I've been waiting for her to come back for a long time. I don't think she plays particularly angry. She can play vicious well in the ring while she's in the context of a match. I don't think she can play bitchy character well, so I really hope they're not turning her heel. Anyways, it wasn't her that took the tank anyway. We'll get to that when we get to it. But SHOTZI rushes to the ring, and they do a lot of exposition at the beginning of the match about how the tank is really important to her, and the theme of the military is really important to her, because she's got family members that are in the military, and that's why she's got the tank and whatever. And it sort of threw me back to the story, the real life story of when her car got hijacked, and she didn't care about the car, but what she cared about was that helmet she has with the horns, because apparently that was given to her by one of her first trainers when she was first starting to wrestle. So all the things that most people find really, really silly or really, really goofy about her gimmick do have sentimental value, and they are building on that on the NXT show, so that's cool. They haven't done anything with the helmet, because that'll hit a little too close to home, because that almost became a real thing. But if they're going to try and do the same thing with the tank, that's cool, because, again, like I say, you take a gimmick that outsiders watching NXT for the first time are going to think, oh, that's a little bit goofy, that's a little bit, that's a little bit of prop comedy. But if you put some meaning behind it, and build on it that way, like all her little things, all her little oddities have meaning and have purpose and have reason for being, then you take away the ability for outsiders, especially AEW fans, to say that, oh, she's just a goofball with a bunch of toys. And I really do appreciate that, especially because we're talking about a wrestler that I already like. SHOTZI rushes the ring. There's an atomic drop by Toni, roundhouse kick by SHOTZI, and a knockdown by Toni, double leg takedown by SHOTZI. And she does the Hardy-style leg drop, where you hold the feet and you drop both your feet down the center. And clearly the implication is it's a low blow, except the commentators have always said that, hey, Hardy hit him in the stomach with his heels and nothing else. Now, you're not going to play up the same angle here where it's a low blow for obvious reasons, but it's still nice to see the Hardy stuff. We've seen a lot of different stuff. We saw a Batista Bomb. We saw a Code Breaker. We saw a Crippler Crossface. Now we're seeing some Hardy offense. There's a lot of vintage. I'm really, really glad that Michael Cole doesn't do commentary on NXT, because the word vintage would have been flying around the CWC. I can imagine it now. Forearm shots by SHOTZI, a boot by Toni, and a mudhole stomp, a neck vice by Toni, and turns it into a headlock, then turns it into a cravat, into a snapmare, back into a neck vice once again, and a double underhook suplex by Toni sends us into the commercial break. Single leg drop kick by SHOTZI, a scorpion kick, cannonball in the ropes by SHOTZI, and two Germans by Toni. Side suplex by SHOTZI, a headbutt by Toni that looked like it was going to knock them both out, and I would have been really pissed. They're trading some forearms. There's an over-the-top rope DDT on the apron edge thing by SHOTZI, and this is where people are going, oh my god, she botched again. It's like, no, she just did a move that looked ugly. This is not as bad as some of the other things that have legitimately looked bad, like some of the brainbuster spots, some of the sliced bread spots, that one suicide dive where she basically ate the ground. I saw Twitter blow up about this almost immediately. It's not as bad as those. It did look like an ugly, messy, sloppy move, but it worked in that way. So yes, I'm biased. Yes, we're talking about a wrestler that I really like, but I genuinely don't think it was as bad. But what was bad? Well, SHOTZI's day got really bad because she looked up to the Titantron all of a sudden. And then I love the fact that they have their entrance and the thing, but because they've got the surround, they can do the Trons on any side. It just gives a little bit of variety, and it's good. They could play that up in the Thunderdome as well, but it's more bisected and it's much smaller screens, whereas the flat screen in the CWC does give them a lot of options like that. It was also used in the Pat McAfee promo, I should have mentioned, but I didn't because I'm an idiot. Candice LeRae is at the side of the road, and she's got SHOTZI's tank, doesn't she? Quick roll up by Toni gets the win. Storm kind of just hangs around in the ring, and they play her off like she doesn't have any problem whatsoever with taking this cheap win. She's been really, really aggressive. She was starting off the night with promos talking about how she was going to use SHOTZI Blackheart as a stepping stone, and she was trying to come off a little bit bitchy, not quite face. But then we go back to the Tron once again, and she just says, you know, you better get out here soon. You better get out here and come save your toy. Come save your tank. You know, there's cars going all over the place. I don't know how long I can save it. And then literally gets into a jacked up Jeep and runs over the tank. And the overacting of SHOTZI Blackheart, I love it. I know a lot of people are going to hate this. So this is one of those ones where genuinely, if you didn't like this, or if you thought it was cheese as fuck, I'll give it to you. But give it to me. I love this character. I love how this character is cheesy in all the right ways. So I'll give it to you if you don't like it, but I do like it, so please give it to me. After they're done running over the tank, which is basically them like sort of pushing it forward and dragging it a bit because the running over didn't really happen, they pan back up to the thing, and Candice LeRae is in the driver's seat, and yeah, Ghostface is in the back. So that's a thing. Apparently Ghostface is supposed to be Indy Hartwell, and it wasn't Indy Hartwell on the night because she was being put into quarantine because of the ongoing global bastard. But eventually it is going to be SHOTZI Blackheart, but or it is going to be Indy Hartwell. Now, I said before, with Pat McAfee's group taking on the Undisputed Era, that if they don't put that in War Games, then I really just don't know what we're doing. On the other side of the coin, if you don't give me Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez versus Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm, and Ember Moon, possibly swap out Io Shirai for SHOTZI Blackheart, then you really don't know what you're doing. And yes, I think that should main event above an Undisputed Era match, and if you know how much I like the Undisputed Era, you'll know the weight of that statement. Now, because we are not going to talk about the main event because of who's in it, we just get a bunch of exposition after this. Thatcher beats up a student again, and the student from last week comes in to make the save and actually owns him for a little bit. So I can see what they're doing there, and it's a really novel idea that they're doing there. It's not hitting for me, but at the same time, I get what they're doing, and they're not doing terrible with it. I will set it aside for somebody else to enjoy. We go to Xia Li in the back, and she's being asked about all these letters that she's been receiving from Boa and all this sort of thing. And she comes out to talk about them, to say that she's not going to talk about them, which is always awesome in a wrestling promo. Basically, they're letters from her family that are telling her that she's got to get her shit straight and get a better career going for her. It's a bit awkward. And then William Regal comes and gives her another letter. It's obviously got the, you know, all the writing in another language on the envelope and all that sort of thing, and basically begs him for a match with Raquel Gonzalez. So we're going to get Xia Li versus Raquel Gonzalez next week. That's an interesting combination that I wouldn't have thrown together. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like, but after Halloween Havoc, I do have a slightly different outlook on Raquel Gonzalez because she was really good against Rhea Ripley, as we've already spoken about. We then get a video package from Rhea Ripley accepting Io Shirai's challenge. I did not. Somebody tell me down in the box below if this is happening next week, because I don't think it should happen next week. I think they should build to it for at least a couple of weeks, and I didn't see them mention it in there. If I missed something, this is one of those things where I'm going to throw it back out to you guys. Put it in the chat, put it down below, hit me up on Twitter, whatever, because I've got Ripley accepts Shirai's challenge, ... when. That's what I have on my notes. My shitty, crazy fucking notes. For those of you on the audio platform, I just waved my clipboard around like an idiot. It's fine. We get a couple more announcements for next week. Breezango is going to get their rematch against Lorcan and Birch, which, yeah, what's that going to be? They're going to get their asses handed to them 4-on-2. I hope you liked the spotlight on you while it was happening. Gargano is going to take on somebody. Gargano is going to take on Vacant next week because his opponent has not been announced. And, I mean, what do you want me to say? The main event was Dream versus Ciampa. I don't want Dream on my TV. Ciampa should be doing much better things than wasting his time with the Velveteen Dream. Willow's Bell Fairy Tale ending got the win for Ciampa. Yeah, there was some good shit in here, but I really don't want Dream on my TV, and I really am depressed by them currently wasting Tommaso Ciampa. I do want to leave it on a better note, though, because we do have some interesting stuff going forward. I don't think we're getting another takeover until December, so the whole show gets to breathe. They're not in any rush to tell us what they're doing with the men's championship, and they're just letting the women's division sort of fill that void at the moment, which is absolutely fantastic. It's sort of kind of what I've suggested for the past couple of weeks. The show's in a really good spot. I don't think I would, if I was trying to convince somebody brand new to watch the show, I would not sell it to them as a show that's currently on fire, even though I am biased, and even though this is my brand, it is the brand I love. It's the brand that's on the flag behind my head, right behind me, right there. But it is picking up this weird sort of slow momentum, especially off the back of Halloween Havoc. You didn't have AEW scooping something together to put up against it, which was great. They came off there and I'm not taking the piss out of AEW for once, because I don't have the energy for it, honestly. But they had their anniversary show. They had the Jericho anniversary show. They had 2 back-to-back shows that were, I guess, considered special before Halloween Havoc. So they got their time. Jericho versus Luther. Can we just pause and say, what the fuck was Jericho versus Luther? Comments in the box below. But anyways, it was cool to have that. They were having their pay-per-view level Wednesday night show. AEW also had the disadvantage, I will admit, of being a taped show. There were a lot of spoilers out there. I might have shared a couple. I'm not a dick, I promise. But there is a slow, gradual, not to steal the Triple H line, but, a marathon, not a sprint type of thing happening right now with NXT. And it's not great, and it's not fantastic, and it's not fireworks, and it's not glittery, and it's not directed by Michael Bay, but it's, you know what, you can come out of an NXT show and be like, yeah, you know what, that was good, that was real good. They're pulling back on the characters that I don't like so much. They pulled back Imperium, because obviously Imperium's going to go back and do UK stuff. They've pulled back on their use of Loomis, because I think they realize he's not a main event guy. They kept Cameron Grimes on the show, but not to the extent that they had him before, which is fine. Like I say, they're doubling and tripling down on the women's division because they know that that's where their bread and butter is right now. They're not doing too much stuff with the tag titles, but they are involving the tag titles with this new massive group that's going to take on the Undisputed Era, so that even if we're not having lots of tag team title matches, those tag team titles are involved in a bigger, larger story, much like they were when they just left them on the Undisputed Era forever. So there is a lot of good shit sort of quietly happening on NXT right now, and I really do feel like I need to enforce that and reassure that on a week where I've basically said, fuck this main event, I'm not talking about it. So take that for what it is. As I said, I'm going to say what I said at the beginning to my friends in the States. Really, really hope you guys are okay. Anybody needs somebody to talk to, I'm around. I'm not hard to find. I'm sure you've all got people around you, family, friends, support, whatever, but I'm around. You guys know where I am on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. So you want one more person to add to your list of people to talk to? I'm around. I'm going to say I'm around a couple more times just because I'm getting repetitive now. And I'm very, very tired. But I seriously do hope you guys are okay. To my friends and co-hosts that are down there, more specifically, hope you guys are doing great. I'm going to be talking to all of you in the next week or so. To everybody else around the rest of the world that's dealing with the big, gigantic, global health bastard, I hope you guys are okay. I'm hearing rumors that in a couple of weeks I may be able to go back to the movies again, and that's basically all I can really ask for. But hey, Mandalorian is back, and Sasha Banks hasn't ruined it yet, so that's something. Anyways, I'm tiredly rambling at this point, so I should shut the fuck up. That was NXT. It was great except for the main event. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, tagging out. Bye, guys.